Another one bites the dust. Do, do, do. And another one gone, another one gone, and another one bites the dust.
Dude, see you guys. We're no longer a video game podcast. We're going to start our own band.
Yeah.
Because I think we're definitely going to get more popular.
Totally. That's only going to help. It's not going to hurt.
Dude, looking at this image makes me want to play Crystal.
Oh, the cover for Prism?
Well, like the photo they have in the article right here. Just the subway.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. So, what started off as a ROM hack, Pokemon Prism has grown to an entirely new game. It's supposed to be... it was supposed to have 200 Pokemon, 20 badges, customizable trainers, and some other mechanics of the game. Well, unfortunately, back on December 21st, Adam from at Coolboyman on Twitter announced that he was sorry, but that it was canceled, and I believe it was supposed to be released on Christmas Day. So 4 days shy, he had to announce that they canceled it, and apparently, of course, Nintendo wrote a letter stating, Nintendo understands that you are a fan of its original products and its Pokemon franchise. Whilst it is appreciated, it unfortunately does not alter Nintendo's important role to ensure that all of its valuable intellectual property is fully protected, and that there is no use made of any of its intellectual property rights without proper supervision and authorization. So,
can we just talk about how pretentious they are for using the word whilst?
I mean, it's grammatically sound. I'm just saying.
I'm sorry. Is there the guy that reaches out to people from 1940?
Like an old radio broadcaster.
Or I guess 1920 would be more appropriate.
Well, I mean, it's kind of crazy. I mean, the one of the producers for Pokemon was asked about Uranium and what he thought about fan games, and he basically had nothing but good things to say about it. But of course, this is Nintendo, and here's my issue with something like this. It's not being sold. It's a ROM hack that grew into its own game that people were just going to distribute without any payment or anything like that. I know you could make the argument they're putting it on websites and those websites are getting ad revenues that they wouldn't get without this. Who cares? Wealth is not a zero-sum game. There's not just so much money out there, and by someone else making money from a Pokemon fan game, that doesn't mean that Nintendo's not going to get that money. That's not revenue that has been stolen from Nintendo. If anything, you could make the argument that it's actually going to increase sales of official Pokemon games like Sun and Moon. Here's something you can get for free. I've probably said this on the podcast before, but I played Chrono Trigger on a SNES emulator several times before I bought it on PlayStation, and then bought it on DS, and then bought it digitally on PlayStation 3 and PSP. I bought the game 3 times after playing it for free because it was just that good of a game, and I wanted to have... Well, number one, I wanted to have copies of it that had the fully animated cutscenes, which I thought were a really, really nice touch. But also just to actually have it to play on my TV and not just play it on my computer. So that stuff helps. I kind of feel like we're going to go through this every single time the story comes up, but it bears repeating. But you being kind of the Pokemon, more of the Pokemon fan than me, at least between the two of us, what do you think of this?
I think it's silly. There's just there's a dumb amount of ROM hacks for Pokemon out there that I haven't seen anything. Like, I haven't seen Nintendo go after, Pokemon, was it Snakewood, Pokemon Brown, Pokemon Insurgents, Pokemon, I think it was...
Pokemon Insurgents.
That's actually a really good fan game.
It sounds like a subtitle that would better fit a Call of Duty game, no offense. I'm just saying.
The name probably has something to be, like, worked out, but it's a great game. Mainly for the reason that it comes pre-built. Like, there are pre-built, like, game types to play. Like, you can choose to play a Nuzlocke. You can choose to play a randomized Pokemon adventure where you could run in the grass in, like, on Route 1 and get, like, a Giratina. It's cool. It's, like, little stuff like that. Because, like, like, not to mention the Pokemon, Game Boy games, Game Boy Advanced games, and I think some of the DS Pokemon games. You can find ROM hacks of all of them online.
You could just find the ROMs.
Yeah.
Go to emuparadise.org.
It's not hard to find an emulator and a hacked version of the game to download.
No, it's not. And what I don't understand is, why is Nintendo spending all of these resources going after creative things done, somewhat original things done, when they could be spending their time just as easily going after websites that are hosting the actual ROMs for their actual games. Like, I mean, I just used the Chrono Trigger example, and that actually encouraged me to buy the game 3 times over. But it's still kind of like that. I could still see the logic more so, because, I mean, with that, it is kind of silly because Nintendo doesn't really sell the red, blue, and yellow carts anymore. They do sell it on the eShop now. But I mean, if you want to play it, everyone here's the deal with, they need to actually re-release Gold, Silver, and Crystal, simply because those were Pokemon games where the batteries on those things wore out a lot faster than on the red, blue, and yellow batteries. And if you're kind of younger, you may not understand, like, what am I talking about batteries for? Well, in the old days, when you saved your game, you didn't save it in, like, flash memory, like on a memory card or a little chip inside the cartridge. You had a battery, a watch type battery, which would power the memory to hold on to basically keep your game saved. It used a very small amount of power. And I mean, this is how, Legend of Zelda was saved in a cartridge, whereas the Famicom version over in Japan, it was just on like a floppy like disk where you could just write a part of it. That would be your save file, and it would never go away. Well, with cartridges, before we got that, I believe it was called like the EEPROM, or I could be using the wrong terminology here, but before they got that flash memory that did not require a battery, your saves were at the mercy of that battery. When the battery died, your saves were gone, unless you just kept the game on all the time without cutting the power. So red, blue, and yellow lasted a little bit longer because they didn't have something that gold, silver, and crystal introduced. Can you guess what that feature is that really drained the battery? Because it was being used all the time?
Color?
Nope. I'm talking about when the game's off. What did it keep track of when the game was off?
Was it time?
Yes.
Oh.
It was so that when you set the time in the game, you would turn it on later, and wasn't this the case where you would, like, if you turned it off at 9 a.m. and then turned it on again at 5 p.m., it would be 5 p.m. in the game?
Dude, I don't know. I was like 3 or 4.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I know one of the first things that asks you is like, hey, what time is it when you first start the game?
Oh, yeah. That's like... I think that's almost every Pokemon game.
Now. Yeah. But with those cartridges, they still use the battery-powered RAM. I want to say RAM. battery-powered saves. So those batteries wore out a lot faster. They only lasted for like maybe 8 years, whereas they're supposed to like last twice as long. Sometimes even longer. So those are games that really need to be re-released on the virtual console or whatever method Nintendo would like to use.
Not to mention, that's like the greatest sequel to a Pokemon game ever. That's the only sequel. No, Black and White 2. But Gold, Silver, and Crystal are the best.
And could you imagine it now if they release it on the virtual console? It wouldn't need to ask you what time it is. It would simply use the system's time.
I'm going to be completely honest. I would be completely okay with having another remastered version of Heart Gold and Soul Silver.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Never mind. They did remake it.
Actually, I think right now there's a lot of like talk going around that like Nintendo's probably remaking Diamond and Pearl.
Isn't that next on the list of remakes?
Probably. Oh. I'm so dumb.
What?
I never played like Blue, Red, and Yellow. So the first time I played Gen 1 was was Leaf Green.
Mm.
And in my head, that's always been like the Gen 1 game for me. I completely forget that that's a remastered or a remade game.
And they introduced the new mechanics into it.
They've been doing that since like 2001.
Yeah, they've been doing that since the Game Boy Advance. And now we had the Game Boy Advance titles remastered on the 3DS.
I'm so dumb.
Oh, don't take it so hard.
Oh, like okay, yeah, we had Heart Gold and Soul Silver. They remade third gen recently. Yeah, with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, well, they didn't do a first gen remake. Yeah, they did. They made it when I was like super into Pokemon.
Yeah.
Well, still really am super into Pokemon.
So, yeah, unfortunately, it looks like Pokemon Prism. I do know that the game has actually been leaked.
Oh yeah.
With Prism, so you can get a hold of it.
I will be hunting that down.
Yeah, and if this is your shtick, I don't see why not.
It's a really good game. Like I've seen the first like hour of it. Well, for like an hour of gameplay of it, it's really good. You even start off with a pseudo. Like, do you know what that is?
No idea.
Pseudo is like it's a Pokemon that's not a legendary. Well, they're called pseudo legends.
Oh, okay.
They're Pokemon that are very strong, usually found near like the end of the game, but they're not legends. Like
that's like Dragonite and
I think Kingdra's a pseudo. If you know any third gen, like Metagross, Salamence, those are pseudos. Oh, Tyranitar. He's a pseudo. And your starter Pokemon's a Larvitar.
Yeah, those might as well be Digimon names as far as I'm concerned.
Wow, okay, that hurts a little bit.
Just kidding. No, because it doesn't end in Mon.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, clever naming convention.